If you want to help Myth Vision Podcast grow, you can join our Patreon. There are different tiers, as well as help out with PayPal. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment. Dr. Price, Gamara Shibara Laba, and Demeragadi Labara Shibara.
Oh, Shigamahanda, can I get a witness?
My question is about the confusion of languages at the Tower of Babel, or should I say ziggurat? I don't know, either way. My question is this. The New Testament book of Acts, or the Acts of the Apostles, it appears that Luke is borrowing or doing something with the Tower of Babel scenario, with the confusion of tongues, with the nations and all this stuff, where everybody's speaking their own tongue. They can't even understand each other. It's like, hey, Bob, you know? And here, men from all nations are hearing, and they're all Jews, which is an interesting factor. They're all Jews. They're all understanding this gospel message. What's going on? I'll shut up, because you tell them what you know, Dr. Bob. I'm excited.
Well, it's a way of saying what it says in Galatians, that in Christ there's no Greek or Jew, slave or free, male or female, but you're all one in Him. And that was really important in Encretism, where they figured that the original sin was Adam and Eve having sex. They were never supposed to. And in fact, Eve was an afterthought. God only needed one guy to tend the garden. But once they could procreate, they gave rise to the whole population and all of its divisions: class, race, religion, language, and all of that. And to overcome it, you needed to join their community, be baptized into Christ, who was the last Adam, and so forth. Well, I don't think Luke has that in mind necessarily. But it is a way of saying that Christ restores the unity of the human race, that all can come together in Him. And of course, it's not absolutely clear whether he means that the 120 are speaking in different languages, or if they are speaking in tongues, ecstatic utterance, and the crowd is made each one to hear all of them as if they were all speaking the one language of the hearer. I tend to lean toward that, but the result is the same. The inability to communicate because of different languages is overcome. And that's that you can't read this without thinking of the Tower of Babel, nor can you avoid thinking of it when you see commercials for Babel, this language learning gimmick. There's my buddy, Mr. Merlin. So it's hard to imagine Luke didn't have that in mind. It's great theological artistry. You had asked if Nimrod had anything to do with it, and was it a ziggurat? It sure seems as if that. I mean, it's on the plain of Shinar, or the plain of Babylon, and it was. And what happened when the Babylonians, as they would be called, moved to the west, to the plain? Well, they had come from a mountainous area, where they had the high places, as they're called in the Old Testament, hilltop shrines where they would meet the gods. It's like Axis Mundi, the link between heaven and earth. So they'd go as high as they could on the mountaintop to sacrifice and so forth. Well, what were they going to do in this flat area? Well, they made artificial mountains, the ziggurats, which were stepped pyramids like the Mayan pyramids. And they would sacrifice there. I don't happen to know what the word ziggurat meant, but that's what they were. And we think we have the very one mentioned in the Genesis story, that it's never been just totally demolished. It's kind of a ruin, but that it's been there a long time, and that's what gave rise to this story, one of the several elements in it. and it's called Babel, which then became Babylon, based on building a city around it. And that means the gate of God, like the founder of the Babi faith in Persia. I think the guy's name was Mirza Ali Muhammad. He claimed to be the hidden imam that all the Shiites await, and he took the title the Bab, B-A-B, the gate to the hidden imam, because all the imams, the Shiites were persecuted, and whoever the imam was, the head of the community, divinely inspired, sort of a quasi-prophetic figure, he would have to go into hiding, and he would communicate with the faithful through a kind of a press secretary who would be called the Bab, the gate to the imam. And the last imam was taken away and lived a prolonged lifespan, miraculously prolonged, and would one day come back. He was in heaven or in some hiding place on earth, and he would return at the end of the age along with Jesus in his second coming. And so they had the Bab, the guy that would herald John the Baptist like the final coming of the hidden imam. And then he decided to admit, well, actually, I am the hidden imam. And I think, this is so interesting, because it comes up, I think, in the pseudo-Clementines, when the different Jewish sects are having debates in the temple, the John the Baptist sect, the Pharisees, and Christians, and so on. And James is asked, what is the door of Jesus? And I think behind that lies the idea that James, the caliph of the departed Jesus, was the Bab of the ascended Christ. Anyway, it's fascinating, but Babel meant the top of the ziggurat, like the old hilltops, were the gate where one could contact God, or Marduk, or whoever. What did Nimrod have to do with it? Because rabbinic lore makes him the guy that built the Tower of Babel to scale and storm the heavens. Now, that's an old Greek myth where the Titans heaped up mountains to be able to get up into heaven, and it was knocked flat. But Nimrod originally, of course, is not mentioned in the story. He's mentioned next in the Table of Nations, where it says that he founded several of the ancient cities, Uruk and Nineveh and all that, which is impossible historically. That they weren't all built at the same time. But there's a classic thing, but like Cain is made the founder of the first city called Enoch, and Romulus and Remus and things like that. Nimrod founded this, and he was the great hunter, which may be kind of a euphemism for being a hunter of men, that he was an assassin or whatever. But he was a mighty man, it says. Well, he was one of the Nephilim. That's what it implies. And these epic heroes were epic heroes because of the blood of the Nephilim that they had in them. And so they figured, well, it would be natural if he were trying to storm heavens. And it does make sense. It's just not said. This could be another one of those things that Margaret Barker talks about, where the rabbis preserved an original earlier version. We don't know. But one thing I gotta say about this is that Nimrod did not denote a stupid idiot, as it does in our debased lingo. And where did that come from? Certainly not from the story. No, it comes from a Bugs Bunny cartoon done in the 40s when they presupposed that the public had more of a knowledge of the Bible and would know that Nimrod was the great hunter, the Orion of Greek mythology. In it, Elmer Fudd is in his hunting getup with a shotgun, and he's going out to kill the rabbit, and Bugs knows he's easily going to outwit him, and he does, and he's in there, the pathetic little Nimrod, the little hunter. That's what he's saying. He's not saying that Nimrod means a stupid guy. It's just that Elmer Fudd is stupid and no real hunter. And so, sadly, you have a good name ruined by stupidity.
That's actually quite interesting.
Oh, it is to me. Bugs Bunny's one of my favorite theologians.
On that note, in Acts, do you think that this is some type of implication on trying to draw in all the nations that were kind of lost to languages back in the day? Is the idea of like a broader context that Acts is starting to expand out to nations?
Oh yeah, Acts is very concerned with the Gentile mission. That's why we hear the Cornelius story 3 times, and 3 times Paul says to the synagogue audience, well, you've had your chance, I'm washing my hands of you and going to the Gentiles now. I mean, it's obsessed with the Gentile mission, and that this is an early signal of that right at the beginning of Acts.